Hello and welcome to Sin and Steel, the heavy metal podcast. I'm your host, Sarah-Tonin, and in this episode, we're looking at my top releases for 2024. Specifically, my top 5 non-metal releases. Yes, you heard me right. This top 5 is not metal, but I hope that my usual crowd will stick around because I think it makes for a good palate cleanser and is great for anyone who's looking for something that's kind of still heavy or dark in its own right, but outside of our usual metal space. Because honestly, I think these are all kind of metal adjacent in their own ways. If you like this one and would like to see more, make sure to hit subscribe and go across to my channel for my top 10 albums and top 5 EP releases of 2024. Getting straight into things, at number 5 we have the Dead South from Canada with their 4th album, Chains and Stakes. These guys have their own distinct brand of folky kind of bluegrass that has become part of the alternative folk space, where they take the traditional feel of bluegrass, throw in some more aggression and some very murderous or devious themes, and deliver something very different. And they are a band that definitely have a few heavy metal influences. They even mentioned in a recent interview how they wanted to show some of their love for System of a Down on this record in particular. And I mean, that's not a massive surprise given they've done a previous cover of Chop Suey. Go check that out too. I was lucky enough to get to see these guys play in March this year at the Forum in Melbourne, and while it did remind me a little bit of why I don't particularly like going to gigs that aren't metal because the fights and the drama in that crowd were next level, they put on an incredible show and I had a great time despite some of the crowd nonsense. It was also great to hear not only the older tracks but some of the new stuff live so soon after the release. In Chains and Stakes, the Dead South have delivered a solid and well-balanced album that expands on their already existing sound and catalogue in a way that is, for the most part, expected, but kind of enhanced, and I feel like the instrumental pieces on this really stood out as well. For me, I love not only the darker, broodier tracks, but there's something about the upbeat music accompanied by some of the more fucked up stories and lyrics that I just adore, and this album just brought me so much joy.
Come on in and start to feed me. All the others, they like to treat me like a love that they once knew. You cried me a river, but those tears ain't cheap. Spitting those damn lies through them crooked yellow teeth.
At number 4 is from homegrown Aussie Punk pub rock superstars Amyl and the Sniffers with their new album Cartoon Darkness. This is a band that perfectly balances the aggression of punk with joy and silliness and maintaining a feminist edge in the way that Amy presents, pushes against societal norms and expectations, and having that rounded out with her perfectly Aussie personality is just wonderful. Personally, I could have done without the track Big Dreams, but while it was a bit of a snore fest for me, I'm sure there are others who enjoy it, so I don't mind having to skip a track. And I find that the rest of the album progresses really nicely. I got to see these guys back in 2016 when they'd first started out, just after they'd released their first EP, where they opened for Sherry Curry at the Cherry Bar. And it was clear then that with their sound, image, and their energy, that they would be going places. So it's no surprise that Amyl and the Sniffers have been absolutely killing it over the past few years, and this 3rd album has only continued their trajectory, so good on them. The Faroe Islands is Eivor with N. And this is such a bizarre one to try and describe because it's just pure magic. Eivor plays this kind of electronic folk with this dream pop quality. classical influences, occasional pagan vibes, and some heavy and bassy aspects thrown in just for good measure. This album is incredibly ambient, it's very well textured, and it's just fucking haunting in the most beautiful and interesting way. I was incredibly lucky to have been able to get Eivor on the show last year, given this one was released through Seasons of Mist, and had a bit of a chat with her about her work with the label, this release, her influences, and more. And it was easily one of my favourite interviews to do. She was just so lovely, so easy to talk to, and very well spoken. And I didn't have to edit a single thing out, except for the main hellos and goodbyes, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's, I mean, for me, when I create, especially as I have kind of matured in my creativity and as an artist, a musician, it's become more and more important for me to feel completely free when I create. And I'm trying to just be as honest as I can to myself and to my audience. So every time I create a new album, it feels like going on an unknown journey, and I try to just create what I'm longing to hear myself. And that's like the basic of it, and I create the music that I'm longing to hear.
You'll find the full interview in the standalone interview section of my YouTube page and in the episode description if you'd like to hear more. In second place is Amigo the Devil from the US with his third full-length album, Yours Until the War Is Over.
You touch my body like it's dressed in disease, and you're the only savior I need.
And if you haven't picked up on a theme here, apart from Amyl and the Sniffers, everything in this list has been some sort of alternative folk, and that continues here with what has become known as Murderfolk. Essentially, it's dark folk with lots of rock, country, and even plenty of heavy metal influences, and more banjo, because I'm a sucker for banjo.
You see, blood and bones are easy to hurt, but that son of a bitch left both on earth. So I'll find a way, come hell or holy water. So I took some pills, went down to hell, brought some wine for the devil himself.
His music and this album are full of themes about self-hatred, doubt, or dealing with personal issues as well as societal issues and things that heavily impact many of us as human beings. It can get incredibly dark at times, and when I saw him play last year, I found myself absolutely bawling in the middle of the Pally Bar floor when he played the song Garden of Leaving, which he shared that was written in, at least in part, based on his own experience. Big thanks to my friend Whitney, who noticed my tears and held my hand through the rest of the song, which was really cute and lovely. But he balances things out with loads of dark humour and cheekiness in a way that just works incredibly well.
But he pulled out a gun like a magician. Well, I've also learned some magic through the years. My bullet hocus pocus through the back of his head and made the side of his jaw disappear. God damn it! I told you not to try. Look at what you made me do.
And in the number one place are the Bridge City Sinners from the US with their fourth album, In the Age of Doubt. These guys play punk folk, neo-folk, dark folk, whatever you want to call it. It's more alternative folk, or alternative, and more banjo. This album explores exactly what its title suggests, doubt, in a sense of what's wrong, what's right, and an endless pursuit of self-acceptance. themes are just so interesting, taking from Prohibition-era jazz, swing and saloon, all the way to death with some raspy as fuck metal-style vocals appearing in tracks like Doubt and Eye for an Eye, and some big old screeches in The Crawl that make this a killer choice for a top non-metal release for someone who listens predominantly to heavy metal.
Say goodbye, my love, for now. We'll have to wait. I'm getting ready for the
I love what the Bridge City Sinners are doing in general, but this album just feels like they've ramped everything up, refined it, and brought their unique brand of debauchery into a new era and at a new level.
Hey, sinners, come inside. Mama and the boys show you a real good time.
Now, they just need to come across and visit Australia because I have to see them play live. If you've stuck around this far, thank you. I hope you enjoyed my choices for this category. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop me a comment letting me know what you thought of these ones and what your favourite non-metal releases were for 2024, before jumping across to check out the other episodes in this series. I'm your host, Sarah-Tonin, and until next time, stay metal or don't. I don't know, it feels weird ending this one like that, so bye.